I'm Kim and I have been on home parental nutrition for nearly 9 years now.
And my name's Peter and I'm Kim's partner.
I've had a number of sepsis infections and line infections. And the first one I remember because it was spring, summer, it was warm outside and we were building a shed in the garden. Pete was in t-shirt and shorts and I just wanted to put layer and layer and layer on. So yeah, it got to a point where I was just goosebumpy but still had so many layers on. So we went inside, took my temperature. It was 38.9 and that's 0.9 over what it should be anyway. You know, and I should be going to hospital at 38. So that was my first infection. And the other telling points other than temperature is for me, I get horrendous joint pain. So I normally say, I believe, my knees have gone and it's because my knees are absolutely agony. Or bizarrely, I crave milkshakes. So I scream that I want milkshakes and that my knees have gone. That's my telling point and I've never been wrong. And bizarrely, my dog is not medically trained, but leading up to it, he becomes incredibly clingy to the point that he'll bark at Pete or anyone if they come near me. And he's never been trained, but he is extremely clingy. So now I can say to the hospital, dog's really clingy, can we take some cultures? And he's never been wrong. Yeah, so I've had 14 PICC lines, and this is my 8th Hickman line. But they're not all down to infections. There were, you know, some PICCs had kind of migrated, or I've had a central line that's perforated over my collarbone, things like that. There's been one time where I had an infection and I was already in a hospital, not my hospital, not the main one that I go to. It's kind of a small hospital, and I was just there for getting some bloods done. And I remember saying, my knees have gone, my knees have gone. And that bizarrely, even though we were in a hospital, they could not get me to my main hospital. Pete had to drive and they wouldn't send the emergency response lady wouldn't drive either because Pete would be in the car, would need to be in the car and couldn't drive his car and follow. So yeah, so he's had to rush me. So that's one issue. We've had it a number of times where we've been in and Pete's actually had to explain how to get my PICC line out and explain to the guy how to cut the Secura cath.
It's a very strange experience. Kim often, when she says her knees go, if she says that, for clarity, you've been infection free for a number of years now because we've educated ourselves about infection prevention. We've learned the hard way, but now we've put processes in place and how and where we connect to make sure that all the risks, as far as we can, are eliminated. But in the early stages, it was an expensive learning curve at the expense of lots of infections. But it was a case of, as soon as Kim says her knees have gone, I know I have not long to get her to hospital before she is completely delirious. So it would be, yeah, we put her in the car and the 20 minutes drive from home to the hospital. Each time I'm pretty much pulling up in an ambulance bay, carrying her in and trying to explain to the people at A&E that this is, I must look like Dr. Google when I arrive because I know what the symptoms are, recognise them, I know what's happening, but to try and persuade the medical team from a layman's point of view of what the diagnosis is and what the problems are going to be is difficult. And it has been that they've been not as well prepared to see PICC lines or how to remove them or Hickman lines and so on. So yeah, it can be frustrating. You can't expect everybody to know everything about it. And most of the time they take it very seriously when I come in and I say, this is the situation and I'm carrying a patient in.
So very rarely have we been in A&E and someone's been trained to take cultures. So we've had to wait for someone either from the ward that I'm kind of under, who is trained to come and do it, or from another ward who uses central lines. So we've always had to wait for a trained person to come, so that can put a delay on things.
Every hour matters. So as soon as the cultures are taken and sent away to establish which infection it is, and then you can get the right antibiotics running to try and prevent any problems further down the line. But they would always give Kim a sort of generic strong antibiotics to start with the hope that that would start affecting the infection. But yeah, speed is of the essence. From what we've learnt, don't leave it too long. You know, if you suspect any kind of infection, seek medical advice at the earliest possible stage, because the sepsis affects people very differently. I think when you're, we had one time you were in A&E and I saw Kim's consultant. I said, oh, by the way, Kim's in A&E, and he came down to see her. And she was very delirious and in pain, joint pain really bad, not making very coherent. And he was surprised. He said, is she like this with the other infections? She said, I said, yeah, every time. And I remember him being really surprised to see how badly she reacted to these. But yeah, it's seek medical advice quickly. But there's no substitute for learning what you can about infection prevention. It's something that I think we learned the hard way. But it is something that you can educate yourself with, and never be afraid to ask questions when you're learning about central lines, HPN. Just don't be afraid to ask questions. If there's something on your mind, raise it.